On July 22, 2022, the quiet neighborhood of Aqua Vista Drive in Pensacola, Florida, was disrupted by an argument that would mark the beginning of a tragic chain of events. Inside the rental home of 65-year-old Terry Jo Williams, an intense dispute erupted between her and her longtime roommate, 63-year-old James Edward Hicks. This wasn't just an ordinary disagreement, it was the catalyst that would eventually lead to a chilling crime and a courtroom battle for justice. 8 years prior, Williams had made a seemingly simple decision to sublet a room in her home to Hicks. What appeared to be a practical arrangement soon became a complex and volatile cohabitation, fraught with tension and unspoken resentments. Little did Williams know that this decision would ultimately affect both the quality and the very quantity of her life. The argument on that fateful July day centered around Williams's demand that Hicks move out immediately. Tensions had clearly been simmering beneath the surface, and this confrontation brought them to a boiling point. Hicks refused to leave, and the situation escalated rapidly. Seeking refuge, Hicks fled to his bedroom, slamming the door shut behind him. In a move that seemed more calculated than desperate, he called Pensacola police officer Austin Haswell directly. In the background of the call, Officer Haswell could hear loud banging. Hicks claimed Williams was striking his bedroom door with a hammer. Officer Haswell promptly dispatched himself to the residence on Aqua Vista Drive. Upon arrival, he encountered Hicks, who alleged that Williams had assaulted him and damaged his glasses during the altercation. However, as the officer inspected Hicks, he noted the absence of any visible injuries or damage to the glasses. Inside the home, the scene was chaotic. A door, riddled with holes and removed from its hinges, lay discarded in another room. Despite the lack of physical evidence supporting Hicks's claims, Officer Haswell arrested Williams. She admitted to striking the door with a hammer and removing it from its hinges, actions the officer interpreted as an attempt to tamper with evidence. Williams was handcuffed and transported to the Escambia County Jail, charged with property damage and destroying evidence, a third-degree felony. An additional battery charge followed shortly after. Her arraignment was scheduled for August 12, 2022. Interestingly, the arrest report included a detail that hinted at the underlying dynamics between the two roommates. Hicks confirmed to the officer that their relationship was strictly platonic. They were simply cohabitants with no romantic involvement, a fact that would later become crucial in understanding the complexities of their interactions. Less than a month after the arrest, on the very day of Williams's scheduled court appearance, the situation took a sinister turn. A neighbor's outdoor security camera captured Williams returning home. She parked her car at the top of the driveway closest to the house. Moments later, the same camera recorded movement. Someone dressed in white, knee-length clothing was seen moving around the property. The figure's identity was unclear, but the footage would become a pivotal piece of evidence. At 1:54 p.m., the Pensacola Police Department received a 911 call reporting a possible cardiac arrest at the residence. Officers arrived to find Terry Jo Williams face down in a shallow water feature in her front yard. She was wearing a bright pink t-shirt, and her lifeless body painted a stark contrast against the tranquil suburban setting. The only other person present at the scene was her roommate, James Edward Hicks. In the days following her death, Hicks was brought in for questioning. Detectives Kramer and attorney conducted a meticulous interview, aiming to piece together the timeline of events. Hicks portrayed Williams as emotionally distressed, describing her as depressed and embarrassed about her legal troubles. He claimed that on the morning of her death, he made her coffee, hugged her, and told her he loved her, an odd gesture given their supposedly platonic relationship. According to Hicks, he went back to bed and later woke up to find Williams's car still in the driveway. Curious but unconcerned, he eventually discovered her face down in the water feature. He described frantically pulling her out, attempting CPR and calling for help. However, his account was riddled with inconsistencies, particularly concerning his discovery of 2 torn pieces of paper he claimed were found in a laundry room trash can. These notes, he suggested, hinted at Williams' troubled state of mind. The detectives' suspicions grew as they delved deeper into Hicks's story. His narrative about the notes didn't align with the evidence, and his description of their relationship contradicted previous statements. Forensic analysis revealed even more damning details. The medical examiner's report concluded that Williams had not drowned. Instead, she had been the victim of homicidal violence, with clear signs of strangulation, bruising on her neck, defensive wounds on her arms, and 4 broken ribs. Armed with this information, the authorities arrested Hicks, charging him with the second-degree murder of Terry Jo Williams. The trial, which took place in May 2024, was a complex legal battle. Despite the absence of DNA evidence, a confession, or direct video footage of the crime, the prosecution built a compelling case based on circumstantial evidence. Key elements included the neighbor's security footage, which, while not capturing the murder itself, showed suspicious movements around the time of Williams's death. The 911 call from a week prior, in which Williams expressed fear for her safety, painted a picture of escalating domestic tension. The prosecution argued that Hicks's motive stemmed from a toxic mix of control, resentment, and unrequited emotional attachment. The defense attempted to cast doubt on the prosecution's case, highlighting Williams' history of alcohol use and emotional struggles. They even suggested alternative theories about her death. However, the jury remained unconvinced. The accumulation of inconsistencies in Hicks's statements, the forensic evidence, and the circumstantial details formed a narrative too compelling to ignore. Ultimately, James Edward Hicks was found guilty of second-degree murder. He was sentenced to life in prison with no possibility of parole. He now resides at the Northwest Florida Reception Center Annex, where he will spend the rest of his natural life. The case of Terry Jo Williams serves as a chilling reminder of how ordinary domestic situations can spiral into deadly outcomes. It highlights the importance of thorough investigative work, the power of circumstantial evidence, and the haunting reality that sometimes the greatest dangers come from within our own homes.